All right, it's Friday, January 6th. This is an end of the day, an end of the week SPY recap, and today we end up with a big green bar that is attempting to break out of a lengthy range that we've been describing for a few weeks now. You can see here essentially we held above the midpoint of the prior day. We moved up, and once we felt comfortable we were moving higher, we reached all our targets, which is this right here, these two bars. That was actually on the first move of the day. I'll show you that in a second. And then we reached our secondary target right here on the second move of the day. And now it's a question of, do we just hold this breakout and continue higher? We have a gap in here to fill between pretty much the low of that bar, the high of this bar. On the weekly chart, which now ends up a weekly hammer bar, you know, you're expecting follow through higher next week again into this gap and then fail, or is it going to work all the way up towards, you know, I think in 1 week it would be hard to have such a strong week to get up to that weekly target. So you never know if we might have a reversal at some point into the gap. I mean, if we hit this gap and then reverse, but a reversal is going to require at this point kind of moving down, you know, let's say moving up a little bit and then coming to the halfway point of this bar on the downside either next week, or if we get some kind of 2-up week that looks kind of, you know, just a minor bar, kind of like this bar, but on the upside, then maybe we get a 2-up, 2-down in 2 weeks from now. But in the meantime, we have key reference points in terms of figuring this all out and watching price action unfold. And those key reference points were very important today in terms of really grasping how to trade the session. You know, we had a big move up pre-market that I described in the opening video after a jobs report. We kind of were holding near the highs of the pre-market range, but we did start much lower. I actually used a shorter term time frame chart, the 5-minute chart, to try a downside failure move that I discussed. It ended up you know, going below this yellow line for a moment. I was able to scale out, set up a no-risk trade, but then immediately you had a failure here, and that's why this yellow line reference was so important to hold there and move down to the pre-market lows, and then it started up. So I shot a video showing now my analysis of the day is that it's a red to green move, and I kind of discussed how if you were looking at the daily bar, you would kind of see that you know, you're kind of holding the halfway point of the prior day, and it was an up pre-market action, and we're possibly, if we're not going to fail to the downside and head to the bottom of this range, then likely, as kind of expected in the pre-market, we were going to try to go higher. So right in here, there was an opportunity to go long, and it took out, you know, the first bar high, and then it followed through nicely above the blue line. So I mean, blue line, which is the pre-market high, and our key purple line, which kind of set the weekly and monthly and yearly continuity to the upside. So once we made that first move up, where did we go? We went right to these two bars right here. These were the first two targets. That was the first move of the day. Then we paused. We have a secondary move if you wanted to trade that. Went up in its second directional move of the day. Where did it go? Right up to here, which if you look at it is this target right here. So, you know, once you determined you're heading higher, you had two clear targets, this area, pause, this area, and now we end up, you know, with a nice strong green bar heading into next week. So like I said, at this point the continuity is to the upside and the reference points are still intact. This purple line is still clear, and that happens to align with the midpoint of the prior day. So as long as you know, on Monday, or you know, we kind of hold above, we have opening price action and opening range that holds above the midpoint of the, you know, I'd love to see a little bit of a pullback here. It looks like a failure, but hold the midpoint of this day and then start up, because you're expecting follow through higher for sure. But you know, we have a good failure point right here, and that if we can break, you know, have some kind of price action on Monday that just comes up and immediately fails and reverses, it'll go below this purple line, midpoint of the prior day, and now we'll start betting. You know, that could show me we just broadened out here a little bit at the top of the range, and now we're going to really make a downside move. If we can really fail this breakout at this point, I would feel comfortable we're heading to the bottom of the range, in line again with that monthly chart that still, you know, could be taking out the lows of the prior month. But let's see now, as we stay green, do we come kind of above the halfway point of that month in this next? That's kind of what I'm going to be monitoring. If we just come up here a little bit, can't really get above the halfway point of that month, then get a weekly reversal, I'll still be expecting the lows of this month to be taken out. You know, it's early in January, so we still have time to do it, and we're just going to have to see how price action unfolds. But until that happens, we're going to just expect green follow through on the weekly chart. Look for kind of almost a weekly reversal right now in order to get a comfortable going back to the downside. And in the meantime, like I said, we'll stay to the long side and see if this breakout is for real. And if so, then we're just going to stay with it. And there'll be some good, I would imagine, very good signals to buy some stocks that many of them have charts like this that have a lot of stops that might be taken out. A lot of people who are short and might get caught. So that's what we'll look for. But today, like I said, there was an aggressive short right here. I'll just highlight it one last time. The 5-minute chart where I was kind of monitoring. Again, I watched that first bar kind of head green up here, and then I watched it fail pretty strongly coming down. It was almost on the 1-minute chart I was watching, and then I decided to go short right there, anticipating that this 15-minute bar would kind of hit this yellow line and then continue lower. But instead, the 15-minute chart, just kind of paused on bar 2 and then started up on bar 3. So that was, that showed the failure on the downside, likely, move on the upside. And, finally we get a directional day, which you're kind of anticipating the more and more this range went on. And today was the day. So, you tried a few other times where you look, here was a breakout day. There was another day I thought this might go, yesterday actually, pretty strongly to downside. And then eventually we go to the upside. So the longer this range was going on, the more aggressive you were getting, waiting for a move like this. And today it happened. So let's expect follow through next week, but we have some key areas to monitor, lines to monitor. And, we'll just see. Really, at this point, the weekly chart, I think, has to reverse to head lower. If not, we're biased to the upside.